Hello everyone and welcome to my Bachelor Nation 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Exclusive Gold Rush Parker Schnabel Ruse royalty deal made with Tony Beets. On tonight's Gold Rush, 26-year-old minor Parker Schnabel is unhappy with the royalty deal he made with the Dutchman Tony Beets. He explains it in detail in TV show's Ace exclusive clip. He's frustrated because once an agreement is struck with Tony, you can forget about tinkering with it after the fact. And 2 months into the season, Schnabel is into his biggest financial gamble ever. Mud Mountain is the dice roll. But is it paying off? Luckily, he is holding pocket aces, according to him in our clip below. We are not going to have a successful season unless both wash plants get up and running. Will Big Red or Lucifer deliver Parker the gold? Explaining his situation, Schnabel says, "We have a plan and right now, and we're going to stick to it." Schnabel is deep into his most significant risk ever. He's bet $2.5 million opening ground at Mud Mountain, which he believes could pay out 8,000 ounces. But rolling the dice on Mud Mountain has left Parker about 900 ounces down compared to this time last year. Luckily, he's holding pocket aces. Parker says, "We're not going to have a successful season unless both wash plants get up and running. The solution just got moved down to Ken Stewart's ground, which is good. It's fired up, and it's sluicing and making money. It's watching rocks. It's doing its part now. It's just a matter of getting Big Red fired up at the airstrip, and we need to start getting some revenue in." The Beets deal. The mine boss wants to pull 3,000 ounces from the airstrip ground lease from Parker's frenemy Tony Beets, and that comes with a unique clause. Schnabel explains, "The deal we got with Tony is a little bit weird on the old royalty front. So like on the ground by the airstrip, it's 15% on the first 1,500 ounces, and then it goes up 5% every 1,500 ounces after that per plant. I don't understand the rationale behind it. Whatever. I've argued it for years, and they Beets don't budge on it, so I'm done talking to a wall about it." To work around paying the higher royalties, Parker has tasked his crew with swapping out the wash plants once they hit 1,500 ounces. He says that Tony's thinking that Parker's crew would never go to all the extra steps here to play musical wash plants. But if that's what he was thinking, he definitely doesn't know us very well, says foreman Mitch Blaschke. Blaschke hit 1,500 ounces with one plant last week. Now he has to mine another 1,500 ounces to get Parker back up to the Mud Mountain Casino. He says, "Our big push right now is to get Big Red over here, get it all set up. And once it finishes here at the airstrip, we're going to move Big Red over to Mud Mountain, you know. That's where Brennan, Rualt, and I have done this so many times. We had a really good system down well. Obviously, Brennan, isn't here with us this year." The Alaskan winds blew hard against the towering spruce trees surrounding Parker Schnabel's massive gold mining operation. It was late September, and the season's end was looming large. As Parker stood on the high ridge overlooking the winding streams where his machines clawed at the earth, a heavy weight pressed against him. It wasn't the pressure of hitting his gold targets or the endless mechanical failures. No, this time it was something deeper, regret. "I should have seen it coming," Parker muttered to himself, his blue eyes narrowing as they scanned the horizon. Off in the distance, the unmistakable rumble of Tony Beets' Viking dredge reverberated through the valley. Even from this far away, the sound served as a painful reminder of a deal he wished he'd never made. The deal that changed everything. Rewind to a couple of years earlier, when Parker was riding high on a string of successful seasons. With each passing year, he grew bolder, more confident in his mining prowess. But with great ambition comes great risk. The land Parker had been working was getting harder to mine, and expansion was critical. He eyed a prime piece of ground rich in gold, located on Beets' land. Tony Beets, ever the cunning businessman, saw Parker's hunger and played his cards just right. "We both know this land's worth its weight in gold," Tony had said, his thick Dutch accent mixing with the roar of nearby mining equipment. But nothing comes for free. What followed was a deal that Parker would now look back on with a mixture of disbelief and frustration. Tony offered Parker access to the rich claims, but with a hefty royalty attached. On the surface, it seemed fair enough, a split of the spoils for working the land. However, Tony, ever the wily negotiator, structured the deal in such a way that Parker was locked into long-term royalties that would siphon off a significant chunk of his profits, no matter how well or poorly the mining went. At the time, Parker had agreed. He needed the land, and the gold it promised was too tempting to pass up. But as the seasons dragged on, that once tempting deal began to feel more like a ball and chain around Parker's neck. The weight of regret. Now, standing there overlooking his operation, Parker couldn't help but curse his younger self's eagerness. Every ounce of gold he pulled from that land felt tainted by the royalty he owed to Tony. Sure, they'd found gold, lots of it. But it wasn't the record-breaking yields Parker had hoped for. Instead, it was a constant grind, and every time Parker thought he was making headway, the royalty payments to Tony would cut into his bottom line. "It's not just the money," Parker explained in a rare, candid moment during one of his team meetings. "It's the principle of it. I work my ass off out here, every day, and to know that a big chunk of what we find goes straight to Tony, it's hard to swallow." His crew, loyal and hardworking, nodded sympathetically. They knew the pressure Parker was under, but they also understood that mining was a tough business, and deals like the one with Tony weren't uncommon. But for Parker, it wasn't just about the money, it was about pride. Parker had always prided himself on his independence. Ever since he took over his family's mining operation as a young man, he had carved his own path, often with little regard for the opinions of others. But now, with this royalty deal hanging over him like a dark cloud, he felt as though he'd compromised a part of himself. Tony Beets, the Viking businessman. Meanwhile, Tony Beets was, unsurprisingly, unapologetic. From his perspective, a deal was a deal, and he wasn't about to cut Parker any slack. "Look, Parker's a smart kid," Tony said in his gruff, no-nonsense way during an interview at his dredge. He knew what he was getting into. "You want the gold, you pay the price. That's the way it works." Tony, with his signature Viking beard and an aura of ruthless efficiency, had built his empire on deals just like this one. He wasn't in the business of charity, and as far as he was concerned, Parker was still walking away with plenty of gold, just not as much as he might have liked. Besides, Tony added with a chuckle, "If Parker had my dredge, he'd be pulling in twice what he's getting now. Maybe it's not the deal that's the problem. Maybe it's the miner." It was a typical Tony Beets statement, dripping with both humor and sharp-edged truth. And while Parker might have bristled at the comment, deep down, he knew there was some truth to it. The royalty deal might have been a mistake, but it wasn't the only challenge he faced. Mining was about adaptation, and Parker knew that if he was going to survive and thrive, he'd need to get smarter, faster, and more efficient than ever.